Faith must be persistent. That's our message series for the month of October. And we're looking at the Gospels in a kind of a unique way because for many of us, our faith is something like a characteristic that's just kind of added on to who we are. But the faith that we profess, if we truly believe in Jesus Christ, is something that's got to be manifest at all times and in every way. St. Paul said it so clearly to St. Timothy today that we need to persevere if we want to reign with him at the end of our lives. And that perseverance has to translate in our lives. Now, I don't remember how many of you, a couple of years ago now, it's almost 4 years ago, we gave out a book called The 4 Signs of a Dynamic Catholic. You all should have a copy of it someplace, and I still think that we haven't even seen that 1% increase here. Remember Matthew Kelly, he's a great author, he's an easy read, and he was trying to find out, just like, because sometimes pastors would say to him, I only have a handful of volunteers, I only have a handful of people that do things around the parish. And he said, it can't be that bad. So he wanted to do a survey, and he thought he would find like the business model. The business model is 20-80. 20% of your product generates 80% of your revenue. So he thought maybe he would find something in that order. That's what the pastors were talking about. Ironically, what he found out is that only 7% generate 93%. 7% of Catholics are dynamic Catholics. And so he wanted to find out more because he said, well, hold on a second. There's got to be something I'm missing here. So he did an actual study. He started to ask questions, and he did surveys across many, many different parishes and found out that there were actually these 4 signs, these 4 characteristics of the 7%. These 4 were prayer, study, generosity, and evangelization. Now, he said, if you're any one of those, okay, but these individuals all manifested all 4, and in a great way, in a very large way. They were always doing these things. Now, prayer is an obvious one. I think that one I can kind of just throw out there to you. These are people who pray every day. They have standard prayers. They maybe go to daily mass. There's a lot of people who do that, so that's good. But the second one, study. You're all going to sign up for a master's level class at the seminary now, right? You're going to learn everything you can about theology? No, he says, no, that's not what I mean. Now, this is how dated it was. He talked about people listening to CDs. We were handing out CDs to the brides when I first got here, and I had to go up to Deanna at one point and said, Deanna, I don't even have a CD player anymore, and I'm old. That's how old the book is. But anyhow, he did the survey, and he said, people listen to these different things. So today I'd say, like podcasts. There's so many good podcasts out there. Every day, you could be listening to the Catechism in a year. That counts for study. You could listen to the Bible in a year. You could do the Rosary in a year with Father Mark, which would be both prayer and study. You could listen to the parish podcast. We've been putting out a podcast every week here. But doing that every day, just trying to have a little something in your day that helps you to understand the faith better. What he said is in the 7%, when he talks about study, these are people who hear something that's church teaching that they don't understand or they disagree with, but they don't just outright reject it, they go find out where it comes from. Study. So prayer, study, generosity. Now, generosity is the one that he said was kind of a little bit mixed because it's kind of hard to gauge. But these are people who just have that generous spirit. They're just always ready to give. They're always ready to give of themselves, to give of their money, to give of their talent. They're always putting themselves in a position where they can help, where they can give. And that's just a spirit that you have to have. So what he was saying is that there are some who, give and they think they're being generous. Well, give more. We could always use more help around here. We have so many great ministries. We could ask for help. And when we do, a lot of people say, I'm too busy, Father. I hear you. I'm busy too. But just take that step. Just give a little bit more. Put a little bit more in the basket. Do your part to be part of the 7%. Matthew Kelly says if we can bump that from 7% to 8%, we could change the world. When you think about the number of Catholics in this world, over 1 billion Catholics, just jumping 1%, how different this world would be. The last one, evangelization. That's the one that everybody, even the 7%, when they were asked the question, do you evangelize others? They said no. Only like 1% said, oh yeah, I do it. So he had to ask different questions to see if that was part of who they were. Because I think if I said evangelization to any of you, if I ask you, do you evangelize? You'd probably go, I don't even know what that means. Do you evangelize? Do you share the faith? So what he said is, he started asking questions. So like you read a book, you do the study, so you read like, this book. Where's that book now? Is it on the bookshelf? Is it by your nightstand? Oh no, I gave it to my friend who really needed it. Where's that CD you listen to? I know there's no more CDs anymore. I gave that to my friend, sent that to my son. He needed to hear it. That's evangelizing, sharing something you heard online with somebody else, a good podcast that you really enjoyed. I've got people who send podcasts to me, they enjoyed them so much. That's evangelizing. These are signs of a person who is committed to the faith. So not just having that perseverance, not having that persistence, but also having that desire to live the faith all the time. So if you have the copy of the book, pull it out, read it again. If you haven't got it, it's easy enough to get them. They're available very, on the internet and other things. But try to get yourself a copy of it, and then start asking yourself, is Matthew Kelly describing me? Not meaning me, but yourself. Is Matthew Kelly talking about me? Am I the 7% or the 93% that just show up once a week and kind of just don't really live the faith beyond that? It's too easy, I think, for us to fall into a rut. And I know sometimes even I can fall into a rut. So this particular series was meant to be a little bit of a shakeup to break out of that rut, to try to get us to, again, focus. I mean, look at today's gospel. It's a perfect example. One figured it out. 1 out of 10, which is close to that 7%. One figured it out. Now think about this. This leper, being a foreigner no less, they go out of their way to point out that this guy was a Samaritan whom the Jews hated. This guy was a Samaritan. He was the one that did it right. But think about it. He was well away from Jesus, realized what happened, had to come back. Now, mind you, it's kind of like being a leper if you're cleansed. It's kind of like, when you're diagnosed with COVID, you had to quarantine for 2 weeks or whatever it was. When they went to the priest, the very first thing they had to do was quarantine. So he's going to lose a day on his quarantine at least, which means he's still not going to be able to see his family for another 7 or 8 or 9 days, whatever it was. But yet he took that opportunity to say, it's more important that I return to Jesus and thank him for what he did for me. More important to be back with this Savior, this Lord, than for me to go see the priests. And even Jesus' reaction, all 10 of you were cleansed, were you not? Where were the other 9? I think the other 9 are just the ones who took it for granted, who just will write it in. Hey, I got this healing, great, I'm going to go get clean, and then I'm going to go see my family. All of us could give a little bit more. I think all of us could take that step. All of us can grow a little bit. I know even over the years of my priesthood, I've changed my routines and I've added things on. And right now, I'm now on my 3rd time through the Bible in a year, my 2nd time through the Catechism in a year, my 1st time through the Rosary in a year. But I keep adding these things on, and I keep adding things to listen to. I'll tell you a little geeky thing I do as a priest. Every Sunday, I go trolling YouTube looking for other priests' homilies so I can be fed by them. So I'm listening to other priests' homilies. There's a great guy named Mike Connor. Unfortunately, there was a very wonderful priest named Father Mark Beard. His stuff is still out there, but he died in a car accident a couple of years ago. He's only 62 years old. Phenomenal homilies, great homilies. It's out there. It's waiting for us. We need to look at our own lives and say, I really need to have more Jesus in my life. I really need to be more persistent in trying to get to grow in the faith and to become closer to Jesus. So that's my encouragement to all of you. Take this as the wake-up call, the shake-up in your life. Like that servant last week, when you say, I haven't got enough time, I'm too tired. No, just do what you're supposed to do. Love Jesus all the more. Grow closer to Jesus. Say more prayers. Do a little more study. Give a little bit more. And most especially, share the faith. Because let's face it, there's a lot of people out there that need to know Jesus that don't know him. And you can be that point of contact. Be that dynamic Catholic. Be persistent in your faith. And most especially today, I ask you not only to do all of those things, but to just keep trying and keep trying and keep trying, because there's no success without effort. God bless you.